Welcome to Small Business Big Visibility. We are so lucky today. We've got Nigel Harmon. I mean, this guy is a fourth degree black belt in Taekwondo. He's taught Taekwondo, taught Jiu-Jitsu, taught boxing, taught Muay Thai. He's the founder of Focus Systems, and he's an all-around cool guy. Nigel, tell us your story.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, so growing up, I was a martial artist. My father was a martial artist, his father before him, and it just kind of put me into that.
How many generations does that go
Lifestyle.
back?
Probably that I know, three, but probably further.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was just natural to put me in martial arts. And that was one area that I really like identified myself as growing up. So yeah, just growing up, I was an athlete. I was just all I did was martial arts pretty much and compete. So it's a really good upbringing. Like I think a lot of kids should definitely take it because it teaches a lot of life skills that I still use today as
Hmm.
an entrepreneur and business owner. Yeah.
Yeah, so what are some of those life skills that you'd say you gained from the martial arts world?
There's so many. There's like for one, it's discipline. That's what a lot of parents are looking for their children. They want something where children can be challenged and learn how to push through challenge,
Hmm.
right? That's a big thing. Like I'm not a big believer in 12th place trophies. Like, and so martial arts is, very competitive. It teaches you how to gain incremental skills and polish it over time. And still today, I've been doing martial arts for 20 plus years, like 25 plus years, and I'm still learning every single day. It's a lifelong skill. And I really just cemented myself as a lifelong martial artist and a lifelong fitness person. And I'm gonna do this until the day that I die, until I can't do it, essentially. So it ingrained a lot of early skills and mindsets in me um, that I still carry today. And even like just little things, like some things I was thinking about the other day, like sitting up straight, like in
Mm.
very small disciplines, cleaning your room, like just being able to be respectful, right, to your parents and your elders, right? These little things that, are small details, but they really do go a long way. And it really helped me a lot growing up. And then also that just like I always have like to say like I have a white belt mentality, meaning even though I've been doing this 25 plus years and I'm a black belt, it's like act like a white belt, act like everything is new, you're still learning, right? You're
Ah,
never done,
right.
right? Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a great mindset when even though you have all that experience, you still approach the world as if there's more to learn in business and life wherever you're at. That's powerful.
100%, right? And that's the thing, like it really does teach you to be a lifelong learner. And that is, if you're an entrepreneur, you have to be a lifelong learner, especially in today's world with technology that is like changing so rapidly. If you get complacent, you're stuck in the dust,
Yeah.
right? And so martial arts, you have to be able to adapt on the fly. And if you can't, then, that's where you get left behind or, you don't progress anymore, right? Where you lose tournaments. So taught me a lot for sure.
Right. So now tell me about your business career. Is this your first business or have you started others before this?
Oh man, I've started so many other businesses, just like little things. Like my first business, I was in network marketing.
Hmm.
Did that for like 2 years. Really taught me a lot. Network marketing has a bad rap, but it taught me a ton. That was actually what taught me how to study, how to read. Because I actually hated school growing up. I was a really bad student. I knew what, like when I was growing up, I wanted to be a martial artist and an athlete for life. And so like I didn't really pay attention to school. And I'm like, what do I need to learn another language? I'm not even going to college. I'm just gonna own a school or something like that, right? And so I didn't really care about books. I hated books. I hated reading, but now I have like a whole library. And the thing that taught me that was network marketing, right? They were big on personal development. They were big on getting mentorship. And that was stuff that I knew, right? I knew how to get coached. I was very coachable. And so it translated very well into that. And then that allowed me to learn how to talk to people, how to approach people, how to get out of my comfort zone. I didn't fully, I stopped it for a couple of years, but it really did ingrain a lot of early business lessons for me. that translated into like, the next phase, right? Because I believe like just because something doesn't pan out the way you want, it doesn't mean it wasn't useful in your life. A lot of times these things are just stepping stones for the next thing, right? Because like when you look at someone that's very successful, it's more often than not, it's not just a singular skill that they've compiled. It was skills that they've stacked on each other that they've learned over the years. And then, after a few years, they look and wow, they have all these skills that are just like stacked on top of each other. Um, but that's from like years of failure and
Right.
learning and growing, right? And so the same way I see martial artists, where you start a white belt, you move up to black and beyond, you gotta I say I have the same approach as a business owner, right? Like I was a white belt when I did network marketing. I got my stripes. I moved into my next business. I went into personal training. I went to the fitness realm, and then I was fortunate enough to be on the national team for Canada. I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and so
Hmm.
I got to travel a lot to compete for martial arts, and I got the travel bug. So
Mm.
wherever I went, that was my favorite thing in the world, just having new experiences, new cultures, new flavors, new environments, right? I love
Yeah.
that. I love learning. So I love learning about new people and cultures. And I loved competing, but I loved traveling more. And growing up, having my whole life to be an athlete, it really did wear on me a bit. And not a bit, it did. It burned me out, right? And so
Yeah.
by the time I was in my like mid 20s, I was competing for like that was already like 12, 15 years of competition, like dedicating my life to that. I was like, I want to be able to travel and experience more, right? And so I thought, how could I transition to an actual career that's going to allow me to have that location freedom, that time freedom? And so I didn't see the martial arts school route as appealing anymore because I felt like you could be bogged down to just doing that. And I taught for like 12 years, not as an owner, but as a head instructor. And
Hmm.
so, and just to be completely honest, I didn't really like teaching kids that much, if I'm being 100%. Like I love the kids. I have the students, but a lot of them they're really young. I felt like a babysitter, to be honest.
Right.
And so, I wanted to be able to travel and work. And so I was like, okay, I have my martial arts experience. I want to get a career where I can travel. I need to do something online. So I was like, why don't I learn how to do like marketing for martial arts schools? So that's
Mm.
where I got into my next business essentially. I started running uh, ads for the school that I was teaching at, and I became like a freelancer, and I started spanning out to other schools within Canada and then eventually the States. And I did that for a couple of years until I got like pretty decent. It took a while till I could actually get results, but I started feeling confident. I'm like, okay, now I can sell this. And then when I decided to go full time, what in that agency, it was the start of 2020. And right when I was like, all right, full-time agency, the whole world shuts down, right?
Right.
And then now I'm faced with the task of, hey, I need to get people to come into martial arts schools and like, hey, want to learn how to choke someone out and get as close to them as possible when the whole world's like, stay away from me,
Right.
6 feet
Yeah. Yeah.
apart, everything online, like, oh, geez. So that was a challenge to say the least. Um, and I did some of those classes, like online classes for martial arts, not
Hmm.
fun. It sucked. I have hardwood floors. Like it's everything, it just hurt all the time when I trained at home. So that sucked. And so, but the crazy thing is when I started that agency, I actually managed to sign one of the biggest martial arts franchises in the world.
Wow.
It was a jiu-jitsu franchise called Gracie Baja. 2,000, 3,000 locations around there. And
Hmm.
I like signed like the HQ, like the head poncho guys, like but I signed like the main guys and it was just a trial run, but it was like I had a huge opportunity, right?
Mm, yeah.
And long story short, like they, the problem was like they were very data driven, and at the time I wasn't. I didn't know my numbers. I was new in business, and they were very experienced, and they ate me alive. Like
Mm.
it really did. And long story short is they end up churning and leaving. And that was one of the most painful lessons I ever experienced. And I lost that huge opportunity because I didn't know my numbers, right?
Yep.
And so I end up closing, shutting that down because I was actually very anxious and I'm not really an anxious person, but I was just like not, I was the chief everything officer for that business,
Right.
right? That was my version of being a CEO. So like Monday to Friday, I would do the day to day. On the weekend, it would be like my fun time. And that's when I would do like systems and like I love doing systems. And it kind of dawned on me one day, I was like, huh. All businesses need systems. Why don't I just do that? Right? Why don't I just start building systems? And so then I shifted my focus. All right, I'm gonna do systems because I also want to work with bigger clients because the martial arts schools are very like they're penny pinchers, to be honest. And so I started to go into that just systems realm. Um, and but I stayed away from data. I stayed
Hmm.
away from numbers because also my own I like self-limiting belief was that I'm not good at numbers because I actually failed math in high school. Failed
Ah.
math. Okay. So I'm like, I'm not a numbers person. I'm not the stereotypical Asian that's good at math. I'm the stereotypical Asian that's good at martial arts. Right?
But
So
but at the same time, you didn't care about math back then, right? Like
I
it was
I
all
know
martial arts.
so I failed it in math 11, but I had to still go to finish it in high or in summer school.
Hmm.
And I thought I was like, yes, I'm done with math forever, right? And then come business is like math. Okay, no, I'm not done with math. So then I was like, oh, I should probably care about this, right? So yeah, I had a whole thing of like, I don't care about this stuff in high school. But then yeah, I lost my the huge contract because I didn't know all that stuff.
Yeah.
So the whole epiphany shift for me of when I switched into having a data business was that one day I was reading this book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Hmm.
Um, The E-Myth is a really, really good book about systems and businesses, small businesses and stuff like that, and being able to sell. And he said this one line that really spoke to me. He essentially said that businesses are run by systems and systems are run by people.
Mm.
And so I thought in my head, I was like, huh, I'm like, maybe the reason why I suck at data and all these numbers was not necessarily because I'm like naturally bad at it. Like I wasn't amazing, but I wasn't like below, actually I was below average, but like I could figure it out, right? Like it wasn't that hard. That's what I'm saying. Like it was
Yeah.
manageable. But I think the problem was the system that I was on was flawed.
Yeah.
And so that became my objective. Like, what if I can build a system that's so easy to manage that someone like me who failed math can actually learn this and use this and
Hmm.
like, and now it's just so crazy because I've made a 360 where now people come to me as their data coach and their numbers coach, and it's just wild because I'm like, okay, if I can do it, you could do it, right? Like, true.
Yeah, you're looking in the mirror and being like, wait, is that the same guy?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's kind of sorry, it was kind of long-winded, but that's how I got into this data systems business. But I absolutely love it now.
Tell more about this data system. What is it that you're actually doing for people?
So we work with companies that are looking to scale and exit.
Hmm.
Okay. And so when you if you ever watch Shark Tank, which most entrepreneurs have, right? First thing they ask, hey, what are the numbers? What are the sales? All these things. And so most businesses actually, like I'm pretty sure like every seasoned business owner knows the importance of numbers, but the vast majority of business owners don't actually actually know their numbers. They know the importance, but they actually know it down to like, the percentage and conversion rate and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we do is we help them understand what are the most important numbers and systems that they need to know in order to scale predictably. And then we leverage AI to help identify bottlenecks of where they should focus their attention. Because a lot of times people focus on the wrong things, right? Like the surgeon always wants to cut, like the pharmacist always wants to prescribe, and like let's say the business owner always wants to do what they're good at,
Yep.
right? So like I've had a client where they were like doing like 100K a month and they did it strictly through very good marketing and sales.
Mm.
Very, very good at that. But what got them to the point where they're at not necessarily what's going to get them to the next point,
Yep.
right? So they were crushing it. Their sales team was closing like 40%-ish, which is like more than double the standard. Like 20% is pretty standard.
Hmm.
So they're doing like double that. And their team, they wanted their objective was to increase the close rate. But their show rate was pretty much the same thing. It was like 50%, like a little bit, like pretty close. And so like that was like, hey guys, you're focused on the wrong things. Like, why are we talking about the thing that you're good at? You guys are crushing it. Like, there's so much more room for growth if you just pull this lever instead, right? It's
All
an
right.
easier to fix. It's going to allow more people to actually come into the door, and then your guys' close rate is going to close much higher volume, right? So the system just allowed them to focus their energy and resources on the right thing, and then move on to the next one, right? Because
Mm.
businesses like we like to see it as an ongoing source of like improvement, right? There's always going to be something where we can improve, but it's like, where do we focus from the infinite amount of options that we could focus on?
Yep.
Where should we focus, right? And so we do that all based on the theory of constraint. Like, where's the weakest link? Where's the constraint of the business? How do we expand that and then move on to the next one? Right?
And you build these systems that collect that data, analyze the data, and then apply AI to help recognize where those constraints are. Is that a fair
Yeah.
way of saying it?
Exactly, right? So we break it down to five different departments: marketing, sales, client success, business finance, and fulfillment. And then we have a sixth dashboard is like the CEO dashboard. It's like a 30,000 foot view of the entire business.
Hmm.
And so what we do is we gather all of our clients' CRM, softwares, spreadsheets, all their data collection, and then we make it talk to each other. Because
Mm.
that's one thing, because a lot of these softwares, like they have their own dashboards and stats, but they don't talk to each other, right? Like I've had other clients where their CRO and the COO are completely on two different systems, and they had to meet every single week just to like calculate numbers manually, like every week. And like this is like not a good use of their time, right? And so we just put everything in one central source of truth. And then once that's phase one, once we get the systems going, that's amazing. But then the next part is like where you can start have fun with it, where it's like, okay, now where are there bottlenecks? Where can we identify what lever to pull for the highest amount of growth? And
Right.
then one step further, now we're starting to implement AI agents into different departments. So get this. So imagine this. Imagine you set up your sales team,
Okay.
right? Let's say you got like 10 people in your sales team. And because you have your data system set up, you're able to see what percentage of people um or what percentage is the highest objection that you get. Let's say you get 70% price objection, for example,
Hmm.
right? So now the sales manager knows, okay, most of our people are knows are from price. Let's do a training on this. So he does a training with the sales team, and they go through a role play of how to overcome that specific objection. So now, and the next thing you want to do is once you do that training, you pull that, you transcribe that training, you feed it into the AI agent, and now you have a sales agent that essentially is learning how your sales team handles that objection.
Hmm.
So if you bring, let's say you bring on a new sales team member, and they have that same objection, then your sales agent GPT can literally spit out the trainings or snippets of your sales team manager training on that specific objection. So
Mm.
like instant feedback, and it'll be able to allow faster speed to decision making, right?
Right.
And also, like your sales managers don't have to do as much. Like it's still going to be good. Like once they see the training, they're gonna have questions. Fantastic. You can then feed that into the agent GPT, and it still gets smarter and smarter and smarter. But it's like you have a whole training repository ready for new people and just for people that are going through like struggles or whatever the case may be, right?
Hmm.
But that's what the agent GPT is, and you can do that for every single department. Yeah,
Wow. Pretty incredible.
yeah, yeah. It's some stuff.
So I like earlier how you framed that you got to this point because you had COVID come and just eat your lunch, and at the same time you landed a massive contract that you couldn't fulfill on. So you had these two separate things that posed this negative influence in your career that changed the trajectory, and it ended up bending life in such a way that you ended up in a better place. Is is that common for you? Like you roll with the punches? Is that something you learned in your martial arts, or how did you learn to overcome
Yeah.
these? Because I see that as such a valuable skill that business owners and entrepreneurs need to have. How did you get that skill?
Man, do or die. Like I had no option. Like, what else am I gonna do? But yes, no, that's 100% something that I've had to deal with. Like rolling with the punches is definitely something you learn as a martial artist, right? Because I've had a lot of upsets, competing, right? Like I was a national champion, but I lost nationals in the finals 2 years in a row before that, before I could win. It took me
Wow.
12 years to become a national champion, right? It's like it wasn't overnight. And I see that as business, I see that in business too, right? Because it's like how long, I think the stat was, how long does it take the average company to become $1 million business or something? I think, or the person, I'm butchering this, but I think it was 12 years where
Oh,
the
okay.
average person takes to reach $1 million. The average person, right? So it's like, I knew how long it took me to be successful in my martial arts career, and I was like good at what I did, right? Like I was able to compete at the highest levels, but I did it through a lot of grit and a lot of pain, a lot of failure.
Mm.
And so I almost expected these failures. And I don't suggest that mindset by any means, like you have to fail in order to succeed. Always try to succeed. But
Right.
when failure it comes and is inevitable, you have to be able to roll with the punches, like you said. It's like I could just like, stay in that position and wallow in my shame, or I can just move on quickly and then get to the next level, right? That's the biggest thing. Like, because I've also like never really been employed. I've always just been an entrepreneur for the most part. I have, but like
Mhm.
I've always been entrepreneurial driven. And so like I relied everything on my shoulder. No one's gonna come in and save me, right? So it's like I gotta just okay, on to the next thing. Because a lot of people get haters and people are like watching you. It's like, yeah, you fail, people see you, but what's worse if you stay there? It's like the sooner I can get out of this, the sooner I can stop being looked as like a failure.
Right.
So that's what's in my head. Like I'm very negatively driven.
Mm.
Like you said this, like, I can't do this. All right, watch me. Like that's kind of my head.
That competition and the competitive spirit, it's gonna drive you, right?
100%,
Yeah.
100%. It's
So
ingrained.
so how do you balance this life of being the entrepreneur and chasing after that dream or that success or fighting for the win with the rest of life, like family and time away from work? How do you walk away from the business and have time without it?
Hmm. Um, I believe in like work-life integration. I know people say that rather than like work-life balance.
Uh-huh.
So I like to integrate a lot of the things I do into my life. So like let's say education, right? I am a big believer in education. Um, like I do my own self-studying audiobooks and stuff like that. So like how I level up my mindset and stuff like that, I will go for a walk with an audiobook with my dogs, right? So
Mm,
it's like part of, just having family life with my fiance. We go for walks and we're learning together. And like my fiance, I help her in her business, right? And she has her own business and I like we level each other up. So I try to, and then I work from home all the time. That's also very helpful. So like everything is already here. Like I have a home gym, right? Like I make it as easy as possible,
hmm
right? Because the more obstacles you put in front of it, the less likely you'll actually do it.
mm,
So
okay.
I have like I love the book Atomic Habits, right? Where he just talks about like make it easy. I actually literally have like the cliff notes here. Like we make it obvious. Like I have a walking pad here. I do 10,000 steps every morning because it's right here. If I had to like unfold it or like pull it out from somewhere else, like it makes it much harder, right? So the habits, the things that you want, like make it as easy and simple and attractive as possible and satisfying, and then make the other things that you don't want the opposite,
Mm.
difficult, right? And so that's kind of how I've been able to balance things. And then also just also living by my calendar has been very, very important, right? Like do the things that like it's weird. Like I schedule times to see my mom. Like, like I'm busy. I want to get it done. And like so I schedule times to see her every Friday, like it's like in my calendar. And some people might find that weird, but it's like, I put what's priority in my calendar and then I just go by that. So that's how I found balance, right?
I like that
Yeah.
because so many people that I know don't live by a calendar because they feel it's restricting. But what you're saying is, no, by living by the calendar, you're able to take what's most important and allocate time to it to ensure that it stays most important. And that's
Yeah,
huge.
exactly. Exactly, exactly. Because like I used to not live by the calendar, right? I used to just, you know, live on the whim.
Mm,
But uh it's, this is discipline. And I always I like to reframe discipline because sometimes discipline can have a negative connotation,
mhm,
right? Discipline, I just see discipline as self-love,
mm,
right? The more discipline you have, the more freedom you get.
hmm.
And so, and that's discipline has been something that's been instilled as me as a martial artist as a kid, right? It's like if you don't train, you're not going to get the results. If you don't schedule that training, those classes, you're not going to get the results, right? So I see that in anything, even just relationships. Like how much time do you devote to your relationships? How much time do you devote to your business, your money, your health, right? If you're not scheduling these things and following through, then your actions speak louder than your words, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I love that idea of discipline being one of your core tenets. Do you have any other core beliefs or core principles that guide either yourself or the business that you want to share with people?
Discipline for sure is one. Like health is wealth,
Hmm.
like one, right? Like, and for me, faith, like being able to believe in something bigger than myself, um, that's definitely something that's been helpful. And also just the relationships, like fostering the relationships and being able to not, just let things get dull and dwindle. I've been with my fiance 16 years, right?
Hmm.
And so like when I was first dating, like I was like, how do people date for so long? Like I don't get it. But I think as long as you continually grow together and put in that effort and experience new things, it's like you keep things fresh,
Hmm.
right? So that's the things like I my faith, my relationships, my fitness and finances, and then just being able to follow my schedule with discipline to follow through on those things. I guess that's the kind of tenets I live by.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So, do you have any words of wisdom or encouragement for maybe someone whose business is in the rocky zone, kind of like you described earlier, where you were hit with COVID, lost the giant contract. If someone's in that position, what would you tell them?
Fail fast. That's what I
Mhm.
did. Fail forward, right? Just accept that you failed and be okay with it, right? Like failure is part of life, and like as long as you don't like you learn, you make a lesson out of it, and you really do take that lesson, and you're not repeating the same mistake over and over again, then it wasn't a failure, right? It was a learning lesson. So everything is about perspective, in my opinion, right? Like that's why you can have people have the exact same experience, and one person still say makes the same mistake, and the other person learns from it, right? So I think everything is about growth. I think everything is about like leveling up. As long as you constantly learn from your mistakes, and actually make an effort to fix it, then you're not going to be stuck, right? And failure is temporary, right? Like this is all part of it. And also like I also like in those this is something I say too, like when I'm in those dark times, I like to think of it, my life is like a story, right?
Hmm.
It's like this is almost why I had this weird mindset where I thought like I had to fail because I'm not living in like a third world country where or like, had all the like abusive parents or like, like something crazy happened to me in childhood. I had a good childhood. Like I had a good upbringing, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but I had this like perception like I need to struggle as a man to understand what pain is. And so like when I was going through that pain, like this is it. This is what I need to go through. This is what's going to require me to break through. You can't grow a muscle unless you tear the fibers, right? So it's like this is the tearing, So everything that you go through is it sucks in when you're going through it, but how much better is it going to be of a story when you get yourself out of it?
Wow, that's powerful. I like that a lot. So, how
Yeah.
could people find you if they want to connect with you or if they want to learn more about your business? Where do they go?
You can connect on me on Facebook and LinkedIn. So yeah, that would be a great place to connect me. Hit me up in the DMs. I'm happy to connect with new people.
And what are they going to type to find you on both of those?
So just Nigel Harmon. Yeah, just Nigel Harmon. That's it. I guess.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for taking the time to share your wisdom, your story, your experiences, and your advice for people. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that with our audience today.
Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for the interview, brother. I really had a good time.
Yeah. And for our listeners, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any more episodes. And be sure to go and connect with Nigel online so you can follow him and find out more of what he's doing and discover more great tips from him.